You hear a lot the term right to work state, and really what that means, and I tell people this a lot, it really means a right to fire. When they talk about right to work, it has to do with having the right to work without joining a union. And so what that does is that means that it's very easy for employers to avoid their employees unionizing as easily, because there can't be what they call it's not a closed shop. In other words, in other states there may be certain industries where you can't get a job in that industry unless you're in the union, and in North Carolina that's not the case. You don't have to join the union, you don't have to pay the dues. You can get the same job as the person who's joined the union. So oftentimes, if not most of the time, there's that prevents the union from being able to take hold and get any kind of membership. And so what that means from a practical perspective is, if you're in a union, some unions have additional rights to hang on to their jobs when they've been injured on the job in a workers' comp claim. They have rights to hearings, they have rights to put on evidence to be able to object to and dispute a termination. Whereas if it's a non-union person who gets fired, they don't have those rights. They're fired. If they want to be able to prove that it was a wrongful termination, they've got to find an employment lawyer, go to court, win the case. Very difficult to do in North Carolina. And most of the time it's not something that's successful or even pursued because of the difficulty. So a right to work state means mostly non-union. We do have some unions that I deal with in North Carolina, but for the most part, it's really what we're talking about is at-will employment, no right to keep your job, and so it makes things tough on the injured worker because they don't have any rights to keep their job if they're making the workers' comp claim, and their concern is, I don't want to do this because they're going to fire me if I pursue this comp claim, and people will just let it go. They will lose benefits they're entitled to, and they won't make a claim because they're so worried about losing their job. It does make it tougher in North Carolina than in other states that have a big union presence, but it doesn't mean that you don't have rights. You do have the right to make the claim, obviously, and it's supposed to be free of any retaliation from the employer. And there are laws that say that retaliatory behavior is subject to damages. But again, it's something that you've got to prove. If you're not under a contract for a term, if you're not a tenured teacher, for example, if you're not in a union with union rights, if you're fired, you're fired, and then it's a matter of trying to prove why at a later date in a later setting. For this question or any other question you may have about your workers' comp claim, give me a call. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you about your case and to see what I can do to help.